Or you're just imagining a bunch of buff dudes swinging at clouds.
This is a great extension of that manliness campaign I came up with.
The Swole Coast.
The Swole Coast. The lich that's stealing everyone's gains. The gain stealer. Everyone has to be a buff dude to try and stop this.
Yep, the few chosen ones who are strong enough. And
the only acceptable classes are going to be fighter, monk, and barbarian, and fighters are going to be the casters. It's like, oh, nerd, you're just a fighter. I'm a barbarian. We got our karate master. Oh, it's going to be great.
Yep.
The Swole Coast.
Welcome to Monsters and Multiclass, your weekly Dungeons & Dragons fix. I'm Kevin Odie.
I'm Jared Bornagle.
And I'm Will Melden.
And we'll be hanging out with you for the next hour to talk about anything and everything D&D related. This week we'll be looking at the Cleric Warlock multiclass, and then the Elder Tempest from Mordekainen's Tome of Foes, page 200. So pull up a chair and stick around.
All right, so our two classes today are going to be the Cleric and the Warlock. Cleric being a divine caster, and the Warlock is, in a way, the opposite. A caster, but their powers are derived from anything but gods. Usually things like fey beings, eldritch horrors beyond the human realm of understanding. And overall, these are two very opposing classes. Kind of excited to hear what we find out. Kevin, got any first thoughts on these?
Yeah, role-playing wise, this is a tough one. It almost seems like they completely contradict each other. It's because it is essentially in one way or another making a pact with either a god or some other just powerful otherworldly entity and serving them in exchange for power. And I'm really hard pressed to see Moradin, the lawful good god of the dwarves, being cool with their cleric hooking up with one of the archdevils for some additional power.
Right.
I think there's ways around it, but you need to get a little tricky, a little clever.
Yeah.
Will? No, I'm on the same page. Luckily, we do have new source material for Xanthar's Guide to Everything, which does open the Warlock up to less devilish means. And I think that's definitely going to be a path that we should look into extensively.
One thing that I was thinking while looking through these is a lot of times it doesn't say that the relationship has to be exclusive. The best way I have to phrase that. It doesn't say that, a cleric only can serve this. As long as that cleric is continuing to do what that god is asking of it, then there's no reason that they can't find other means of power. At least not explicitly stated. I understand that generally you're not expecting that, but it's not outright banned in any way. As well as the Warlock patron, the Great Old One, it's not really a deity, and it's usually something that's just totally unexplainable. And I'm wondering if that's going to cause any conflicts RP-wise. I feel like it won't, honestly.
I think it depends on the god.
Yeah.
I could definitely see an evil god, especially a chaotic evil god, encouraging their clerics to seek these parasitic connections to the Great Old Ones. And if anyone's not familiar, that's one of the main subclasses of the Warlock. You make a connection to a Great Old One. It's basically the D&D Realms version of an eldritch horror.
Right.
There exists in some far-off plane of existence, completely outside of our comprehension, with motives and goals that we can't even imagine. Warlocks that get their powers from them, it's usually a very one-sided thing. They've managed to somehow contact these things and tap into their raw power. And usually the Great Old One isn't even aware of it.
Right.
Because they were so small and minute and pointless to them, it would be like us being aware of, an ant on your shirt. It's like, maybe you'll notice it, but
I'm going to notice an ant on my shirt.
You think?
Yeah.
If it's just like on your back?
Yeah. No, I'm got ant vision, man. Those things freak me out.
Ants have terrible vision.
Well, I have great vision, so I'm going to squash that.
Yes,
bitch.
he means ant vision in the sense that he could see ants well, not that he has a vision of the ants.
All I can see is ants.
Or is it vision where everything you see is ants?
That sounds terrifying. I don't like that at all.
Everything's just a writhing mass of terrible formic beings.
Well, now, would that be like one... Like, would you guys be one giant
No,
ant?
it'd be masses of ants. You can't just
yeah.
make things out of, everything's a bigger ant. You wouldn't know how to use a bookshelf. It's like, where do I put the books? It's like everything has to be made out of ants.
Well, no, the bookshelf would just be like stacks of ants, where you've got like ants on parallel.
Yeah, just writhing masses of ants.
Yeah.
In the shape of a bookshelf.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they can support it. That's why everything's so strong and my vision.
Then you open the book, and it's a massive ants, and then ants form the letters on the page, and
Ant
just
Braille.
different colored ants. You got red ants and black ants. That way you get your contrast.
Yeah,
This is extremely high quality content.
this is
Okay, so the Warlock Cleric.
right. So let's think of some ideas. Kevin, did you bring anything to the table today?
Yeah, one more just detailed one, just trying to kind of dance around that issue of so it doesn't specifically say it has to be exclusive. I would really think the vast majority of gods would not be cool if they're clerics.
I totally agree.
So it just, like I said, this is kind of a little more in detailed one here, so just bear with me. So your character is born of a cult to an evil god. Pick whoever you want. Probably a chaotic evil god. They're very isolated. They live out in the woods by themselves. Your parents are high members of that cult and clerics themselves. So you're brought up in this cult with high expectations to be this evil person who's going to take over as the clerics and leaders of this cult, but you have this good streak in you that they just can't get out of you. When you should be bullying and taking advantage of others and just being a general dick to everybody. You're showing mercy and kindness. You've been caught sneaking off to the nearest village to help people.
Disgusting.
That's terrible. Terrible, terrible stuff. And your parents and the cult try everything and just cannot break you of this good streak in you. As you get older and it's starting to see more and more that you're lost to this cult, this god wants nothing to do with you, and that they're telling your parents to kick you out, they trick you. They perform some sort of ritual that flings, yes. Fling, flung, flews your mind to the far plains, where you come into contact with one of these great old ones. It was an intentional thing from your parents, and your mind shatters. You can't handle it. It's too much for you, as it usually is, and you come back completely mad and with power siphoned off this great old one, and you're no longer your former self. It seems like it has finally worked. They've broken you of this good streak because you're just this insane person siphoning power off this terrible evil.
What a prank.
Yep.
Thanks, Mom.
Can you prank people like that in the D&D world? Just like shoot them through a portal that gets them in contact with a great old one, breaks their mind. Ha, gotcha.
Yeah, I guess you could. I mean, yeah, great prank.
Great prank.
Yeah.
Put your hand in some warm water while you're sleeping, piss the bed, send you through a portal, break your mind. Just great pranks in the D&D world. All right.
So anyways, yes, your parents and this cult are now very happy. They think they have their next generation of leadership and this insane person who fits the ideals of this chaotic evil god to grow in power and just experience. You're kind of sent out in a pilgrimage of sorts to go out into the world and experience things and grow in power and in your cruelty and all that. As you're doing this at some point, and this could very much happen in character, as you know, that could be this at level 1 is when you leave, or it could be part of your backstory. A angel of a lawful good god comes into contact with you, and again, your pick. There's so many of them, and they're really troubled by what they're seeing. They're trying to turn you back into that good path because it turns out you're not human. You're actually Aasimar. You are basically an angelic divine entity that was put into this cult by this god in the hopes to finally disrupt it and destroy it from the inside. But you seem to be lost. And one of the things with Aasimar, you have this kind of guardian angel type character, sort of like your conscious. And so you start having a lot of dealings with them as they try and kind of talk you back into the good path and all of that. But you're not really having it. You're completely insane. It just all does not click for you. So out of desperation, this god makes you one of their clerics. They bestow upon you all this holy power from this lawful good god, and in a way that kind of soothes your mind and calms you a little bit and slightly pulls you out of this madness. So now you have these warlock levels from the great old one, and then starting the cleric powers from this lawful good god who's trying to bring you back around. And you're sort of locked in this battle. It doesn't completely cure you of your madness. That great old one connection still holding on like a parasite, constantly trying to pull you back into its madness. Well, this god is trying to hope that you keep advancing with your cleric powers and in the teachings of them.
Okay. Yeah, no, I see that.
That was a really elaborate and epic backstory.
Yeah,
just like
definitely.
imagining that being told, like, "Oh, how did you become an adventurer?" And then you hear that, and the ranger next to you's like, "Oh, I grew up in the woods. Yeah, my dad also did similar stuff. So evil cult.
Yeah.
Evil cult, mind lost, good God, trying to... Okay, yeah, that's a lot.
One thing that's
What we do here.
Yeah, it is. One interesting question that brings up is I kind of like the idea of you, like if you do start off with this character being level 1 warlock, going on their pilgrimage, and they have no idea that they're an Aasimar. And then like they don't find out until later. That's like kind of a weird way to play it, but I actually really like that. I mean, you're still gonna, of course, know as a player, you've got your racial bonuses, but you probably wouldn't be using any of the cool Aasimar stuff until
Where they could sprout wings and fly. Right. Yeah, that probably won't come up till later.
Right, exactly. And then you find out, you're a Scourge Aasimar or whatever, Protector. I don't know. They're the 3 sub races. They're all weird. That's a really cool way to play that. I like the mix. The number one issue I have with this multi-class, and it's nothing to do with that RP-wise, is just mechanically, what are we getting out of it?
It's limited. There's a couple cool things. Like, so if you take the Pact of the Chain, where you get your familiar, the more powerful, invisible familiar, stuff like that. You can cast spells through your familiar, touch spells through your familiar.
Yeah.
Clerics get a lot of good touch spells, which now they no longer have to deal with actually being the one to do it. Inflict wounds, it's touch, and it's a really powerful first level single damage spell. You can now do it as a touch.
Cure wounds?
Yeah, cure wounds, various buffs, things like that. Yeah. So that's useful. Also, then the warlocks get their 2 spells that come back on a short rest, where clerics are like a standard caster where it's only on a long rest. Clerics, there's always kind of this pressure to... They get some cool spells, but now use it on blasts, use it on cure wounds, use it on revivify, things like that. This gives you a little more flexibility. You could use these warlock spells that come back on every short rest for your blessing cures and all that, and save you more spells for the other stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. And of course, the channel divinity, where it's just... depending on which domain you go with for the clerics, just some nice little benefit. It's kind of hard to tie in the main point of channel divinity, the whole turning undead. I don't know.
I mean, if there's undead, turn them. Warlocks have no real affinity for the undead. I think a lot of people mix that up and like, oh, warlocks, necromancers. It's like, not in this universe at all.
Right.
But you can combine this in the worst possible way by kind of defaulting to what clerics and warlocks unfortunately end up being like 9 times out of 10, and that's just a fire hose of cantrips. It's like, oh, I'm going to be you can't be both. That's a terrible mix because you've got like up-powered Sacred Flame and up-powered Toll of the Dead and up-powered Eldritch Blast. And you can only do it once, guys. So.
Well, that's actually one thing that is really good. There are a couple of the cleric domains that they can add their wisdom modifier to their cantrips, the damage to it. So that means that the Eldritch
cleric
is it just cleric cantrips? Well, let's see. I confirm that. It's 8th level. I know on the knowledge.
All of them have
any cleric cantrip. Okay. All right. Well,
but like Toll the Dead's a cleric cantrip.
Right.
Which is great. But it has nothing to do with being a warlock.
No, I'll say that's just something nice, but it really doesn't combine at all because your Eldritch Blast is always going to end up being more powerful.
So that's
maybe not
that's
always.
That's the question is like, do you want to probably aim for one of the powered up cantrip versions and then say an alternate version like the melee clerics or the melee warlocks? I think that's the money combination here is doing one class like you're supposed to in one class, kind of an offshoot of it. Because you just don't want this huge arsenal of cantrips that are overpowered because you've already got one and it's like that's the done deal.
Right. That's your damage.
Yeah, Toll the Dead or Eldritch Blast. Yeah, and then throw the Sacred Flame in there for a save if they have a high AC or whatever.
Yeah, yep. Though I guess Toll the Dead's a save.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is. You're right. Yeah. Never mind. Yeah.
But it does necrotic damage. So if you're fighting undead,
then turn them.
Yes. And then blast them with Sacred Flame. Or Eldritch Blast. Nothing's immune to force damage.
No?
Yeah. Okay, so Eldritch Blast. It's always just Eldritch Blast.
Yep.
Yeah, this class, as fun as it is, you're just going to be casting Eldritch Blast and healing people occasionally.
That was my concern. It's like, thinking, even talk about, you can use the familiar and additional spell slots and all that. I think in reality, what it will end up being is start of combat, I bless. Your turn comes around. Is anyone dead or dying? No, I cast Eldritch Blast. Your turn comes around again. Is anyone dead or dying? No, I cast Eldritch Blast. Turn comes around again. Is anyone dead or dying? Yeah, actually, Bob's at 0 health. Cure wounds through my familiar.
Yep.
Come around again. Eldritch Blast.
Which sounds to me like you're better off just going with that. What's the
Celestial Warlock?
Thank you,
Yeah.
Celestial Warlock. If you really want to go down that path, you just get a little bit more versatile spellcasting. Kind of, but you're limiting yourself in some regards.
Yeah,
you still get good healing.
All the spells we talked about, you get with the Celestial Warlock.
Right.
So
Do you get bless?
No, you do not get bless, but
Bless is a good one.
I'm not sold on bless as this awesome thing.
It's good if you have a lot
I
of
forget to cast it a lot.
if you have melee combatants, it's really good. But if you only have like 1 or 2, it's not a big deal.
Right.
And I think that's the main thing we find out every time. It's like, okay, well, half our party just cast spells and cantrips. Bless isn't going to help them too much.
Right.
I guess it can if you're, depending on which cantrips you're casting, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, it's just not a big deal.
Yeah.
1d4 strangely drops off. Not strangely, but it does drop off in the amount it's helping.
I also hate that guy. He rolls
The
like
D4.
crap.
We've already had this conversation.
I know, and it bothered me. Like last session, I was rolling these D4s for the healing word, and they just flopped.
Yep.
When we needed them not to flop. I needed an epic roll to save us from the Yockel.
Yokelol.
Which we did get to fight. Which I don't know what episode we talked about that, but you
That was a
brought
while
it
ago.
out. That
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah.
It was a really, really terrifying thing to fight. It sucked.
Yep.
So I'm glad you brought it out.
All right, but one thing I do want to point out is that both the Xanthars Warlocks have almost no RP issue with a Cleric combination.
Right.
A Hexblade is bound to their weird magical sword on the Shadowfell realm. That's not really, it's not like a god's not going to be like, oh, what are you doing talking to swords? It's not a relationship.
It's more like the Raven Queen.
No, there was a specific one for the Raven Queen. It's just a sentient item from her realm. It's not the Raven Queen.
Right.
And I've never really liked that flavor, being like the patron of a sword, but it does kind of work here. I mean, Black Razor may be a really shitty guy, but he's also I don't think he can inspire jealousy of a god.
That's fair.
I don't know. He might.
It depends on how you worship
Black
them.
Razor, yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of weapons out there that could be like a boon thing. Like my god has a legendary weapon, and I was empowered through it. And that's the same with Celestial. It's like, oh, my god has a really cool unicorn, and that's where I get my powers from.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. I
Like I
that.
say, yeah, that was the other way to justify it, where it's the patron through the warlock is under the god, which there's plenty of instances of that.
So I came up with one that I think is pretty interesting. This would be specifically for the knowledge domain cleric, where they start off a cleric who just wants to know everything, and that's their main focus. So they pledge their life to one of these gods. Got a couple here. Thoth, maybe? Thoth. That sounds weird. I don't think it's pronounced like that. I'm going to say Thoth.
Is it Thoth?
Yep.
That's Thoth.
All right, Thoth. So they, start down this knowledge cleric domain and just want to learn more and more and more until it starts to become the only thing they can focus on. And their cleric or their god just can't give them enough knowledge. So they start seeking it out in other ways. One of those ways being ancient texts, maybe. And go ahead and find a old book, get their mind blasted by an eldritch horror upon reading one, and now you got yourself a warlock. So that's one combination. It's not 6 hours of backstory, but I think that'd be a good way to do it. And the knowledge domain kind of pairs well with the Pact of the Tome, and then just a nice mixture of spell versatility.
Yeah, you don't think their patron god would kind of drop them after that?
No, because they're not really doing anything wrong. They're just looking for more knowledge. It's like, oh, well, I feel like they would almost kind of respect it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm the god of knowledge, want to know everything. And I don't know specifically the lore of Thoth and all of these other gods here, so I might be way off. But, it's something that they might view it as, wow, this one really wants to learn and kind of embrace it and view them as, as long as they're still doing what I ask them to, I don't care. And I think that's the main thing.
Yeah, I think that actually does have a mechanical potential, especially if you kind of avoid the knowledge cleric path or like stay light on it, because it does end up being that cantrip blaster. That's one of the primary combat focuses. But there is a lot of stuff here that essentially it kind of overlaps with the Great Old One's mind manipulation weirdness.
Right.
So you do have just like this repertoire of spells and mental fuckery that is pretty interesting, but I don't know if it would mechanically work that well.
No, it would. Looking them over, it looked like the Great Old One worked a little bit better mechanically and flavor-wise compared to like the Archfey, because that one I would definitely see a cleric god being like, no, you can't just sell your soul for more knowledge. That's like totally not cool. Get out.
What the hell, man?
We had a deal.
So already sold it. Well, I can't fire you.
Not pretty sure they can.
Oh yeah, no, they can hellfire you, man.
No, but the paperwork is just ridiculous. So a lot of times they let it go for a bit. So yeah, I didn't like the idea of that one, and also just the class stuff for the Archfey just were a little bit too evil for clerics. That's the only way I can describe that one.
I like the running with the paperwork idea.
Yeah.
So like if you know the campaign's going to be in a short time frame for whatever reason, that's how you play out the multi-class. You've been a cleric for a while, and then you end up selling your soul for more power, and of course your patron guy gets pissed, and
Right.
like that's it. You're done. But I mean, we have a system, and it's not really going to tick over to the end of the quarter. So just try not to get into too much trouble till then. And so you can just kind of run it on this short clock until they're yanked away and try to make the most of it in that quarter.
Oh, that'd be pretty funny. Then if you get bored of the character because you're like, oh, this wasn't a good combination, you just have their cleric power stripped away and change characters.
Right.
So
There was one more thing I wanted to jump on back in my original idea.
Yeah.
Just kind of homebrewing just a little mechanic for it. So if you're... Don't worry, it's cool.
Okay.
No, it's just homebrewing a mechanic's not really the right... I'll just explain it.
Better be
So,
Boo. Boo. Okay, go on, Kevin.
yeah, we're not big fans of homebrewing here. I guess I don't think we've ever talked about it much.
I won't say we're not big fans, and I say that in air quotes. More of that we're very weary on
Yes.
homebrewing. It's risky to say the least. A lot of times you can get what you're looking for out of predetermined materials and not have to change things around to potentially make it broken or
Right.
You know,
yeah, my view is, I mean, you have people who they dedicate their entire career to making this stuff, Dungeons and Dragons, and they have entire teams working on it, and they go over things and iterate them again and again and again, and then they get play tested a bunch, and they take feedback and adjust it, and they're like, who am I to think, you know what? I don't really like how the cleric casts spells. We're going to change that. I'm sure it's going to be better.
yes.
Yeah, I think just I like working within the system. Then it's also more consistent. And I know it's a cooperative game. It's not competitive, so it's not as big a deal if somebody gets significantly stronger. But to the rest of the party, I think it's frustrating. It's annoying where everybody's within the confines of the rule books and playing standard stuff. Someone comes in with a homebrew class or mechanic or whatever, and they're significantly more powerful than everyone else because they didn't consider something with the homebrew. I think it's just frustrating and annoying.
It makes the DM's job a lot harder,
Yes.
too, because now they have to balance for 3 people who are by the books, everything's fine, and then 1 person who just smashes through every single combat. And now you're spending your time just countering that 1 person, and it's like, what was the point of this? This isn't fun.
Yeah. So, anyways, homebrew is the wrong word to use.
Okay.
So you're kind of stuck in that struggle between being sucked back to the Warlock side or following the Cleric side. So throughout the campaign, every time you use a spell or ability, keep a tally. Was that a Warlock spell or a Cleric spell? When it's time to level up, whichever one has more, that's the level you take.
Are we back to the bean counters?
No.
Oh.
No. It's just like you do that as the player, not
Yeah.
the character.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And then so you're struggling to your characters probably want to fight to grow stronger as a cleric and shrug off this madness and all the evil ways. But there's a lot of beneficial things the Warlock gives them too. And so every time they use it, it kind of strengthens that bond. And so then it's time to level up. And all right, since the last level I've used 52 Warlock abilities and only 40 Cleric abilities, and it looks like I'm stronger in a Warlock. Then you can kind of play once you hit a certain level, like if it's going to level 20, once you hit 10 in one, like that solidifies who you are, your personality, all that.
Right. I think my only issue with that is it kind of makes it so you can't use a lot of, like, let's say RP wise, I want to start doing more cleric-y things. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not using Eldritch Blast anymore, even though that's the reason why you multi-classed into it, is to have that not overpowered, that really strong Eldritch Blast. So it's fine. I like the idea of it. RP wise, that sounds really cool. I just worry that it's going to be limiting the character.
I think it's just not going to work. I think it's like a really good flavor.
Right.
But like every time you're like, oh, this isn't even fucking close. It's like I used 100 Warlock spells and 10 Cleric things. And that's just like every level you're like, crap, this is not. And then you have to try to balance it in your head. Like, whoa, how can I readjust how we do? Do cantrips count? Do various patron features count? It's like, I think it's a really good idea that mechanically will just fall flat on its face.
You think?
Yeah, that's one of the problems with D&D is you do end up in kind of it's a cycle of repetitive combat, and we do our thing over and over and over again until something really weird happens, and those patterns they're pretty solid, and that would show up real quick. It's like, this is what I do most combats.
Like how your cleric, normally if they have nothing to do, I use Toll the Dead.
Yeah,
because it's like, what
both
else
these
am I gonna
classes are unfortunately cantrip blasters.
Yeah, it's true. It's not like I think that's not so weird, but I feel like, we've got a wizard and we have a cleric. Both of them are full casters, but the amount of times that you have so many spells left over at the end of the day, because you're like, what am I going to use them for? Nobody needed to be cure wounded, so
yeah, and that's
very frequent.
The downfall of the cleric is you cannot be as loosey-goosey with your spell use as a sorcerer or a wizard or a warlock.
A warlock, indeed.
Because if somebody goes down, it's like, sorry, bud, I did a minor damage spell instead of revivifying you.
yeah, they're more important.
I'll call your parents and tell them how epic that inflict wounds was.
See, well, that goes back to the benefit. The one of the two benefits we mentioned is where you get those reoccurring spells on a short rest. So it frees you up to use more of the cool Warlock spells.
Yeah, that's the one interesting thing. I definitely, being a ridiculous Warlock fanboy and a current cleric who's like, it's an alright class. It's like, yeah, I think any class can use a dose of Warlock. That's my new conclusion.
I kind of get that. It's like the I'm going to be vilified for this. It's like the fighter of spellcasters, where every class that takes it that's a spellcaster, it gets something good from it, where it just gets those Warlock spells, and you get them on a short rest, and that's great. And nobody's going to turn that down. Just RP wise, it's not as easy as the fighter.
No. Yeah, you need elaborate backstories as opposed to, I trained at the armory for a few months.
Yeah.
So I think we have a tendency to discredit fighters in this group.
What do you mean discredit them?
I from an RP wise, actually, I think fighters have one of the biggest barrier to entries.
What?
It's next episode's Fighter Monk, so we'll talk about it then. But
yeah, okay, we'll talk about it then.
That's all right. Yeah. That's good, because I'm already mad.
You're mad at fighter?
No, I'm mad at Kevin.
Oh,
no, Kevin's wrong.
Just say no. Everyone could just be a fighter.
Everyone can't. Damn it, Kevin. Next episode on Monsters and Multiclass. I yell at Kevin for being wrong.
Isn't that the point of every episode?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's like why we bring you along.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
To disagree with us.
Yeah, like seriously, you're not here to be like, "Whoa, I'm the voice of reason. I'm Will." No, you're here to just shoot things down.
Why you're dumb,
because your feelings get in the way. Oh, I don't want to ruin Santa Claus. I haven't forgotten that.
Yeah, you did ruin Christmas.
Oh yeah, I did.
Hope everyone had a good Christmas. I bet they didn't, because Jared ruined Santa Claus.
Is there any? I'm just spitballing here. Any crossover between the Nature Domain and the Fey Warlock?
No.
I'm just trying. I don't know much about the Fey Warlock, to be honest.
The Fey Warlock has never been the best as it is.
That's why I don't know much about it.
I don't like the flavor very much. I don't really like the Fey at all. I think they're just kind of ambiguous. They always seem kind of neutral. It's always the neutral option.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I think, it could be a combination that works. I can see your Fey god and your Fey patron being like, oh yeah, no, that guy's cool.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Oh no, we get drinks together all the time.
In the Feywild, we hang out all the time, man.
Yeah, that's the only Only thing I'm seeing there.
There's just not much interesting. I don't think either of those classes has much interesting or subclasses.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Then how about the War Domain and the Hexblade War?
No, this is where I think it does that kind of works.
Mm-hmm.
The Hexblade has just so many cool things.
Right.
But you are also overlapping on the sense that a Warlock, when he goes Hexblade, he gets the armor and he gets the weapon mastery and the War Domain. Now it's just heavy armor, so you're kind of losing out on a few proficiencies that were once valuable and no longer.
Right.
And War Domain's really not that great. I think we've talked about that previously.
Right, but maybe it could be better with the Eldritch features. I'm not saying it could. I'm just wondering. Like the number one thing I've noticed is the Eldritch invocations for the Hexblade just add so much that you could multi-class into a bard and it would be worthwhile.
So I think
Well, yeah, they're both charisma casters. And
No, we're not talking about this. No.
That would be a
Warlock
really
bard.
solid multi-class option, Jared.
What was it? What's a bad one? Nothing. The Hexblade's so good.
Yeah, the Hexblade multi-class is very well. Just a one-level dip, you get so much.
Yep.
We never talked about attributes, ability score, not attributes. Yeah, it's charisma and wisdom 13, which isn't bad. It's a little, you don't see that too often, both of those stats being high. And a little complicated to play because when you cast a spell, you have to determine, wait, is this charisma or wisdom? And
I can see that being super annoying in practice, but
Yeah,
but because it doesn't line up.
Right, but beyond that, I mean, it's not hard to get to in any
definitely
capacity.
not. Especially, like strength, you don't need much of.
Well, if you do play that's kind of the downfall of trying to incorporate that melee character into it. It's now it's more mad.
Right.
Well, unless it's Hexblade.
Unless it's Hexblade, then you can use your charisma as your modifier. In which case, you're back where you started.
Yep.
So almost that could be good for the War Domain because you don't have to focus on strength or dexterity. You can ignore those two and say, well, charisma's my weapon ability. That again, War Domain's just not great. You get the Channel Divinity, which is pretty cool. Add +10 bonus to your roll. But you don't need to use an action for that. So that's just like a free thing. Hey, I want to add +10 to this roll. I could see you really trying hard and maybe getting the Great Weapon Master feat where that's -5 and you get +10 damage. Great, you can do a whole bunch of damage. Is it the best way to go about this? No, not at all.
War Priest, like looking at it now, it can combine well because one of the Hexblade's big feature is you hex them, then you blade them.
Right.
And that does like paladin levels of damage because you're rolling so many dice.
Do you add an extra D6 to the hex
extra
target?
D6, and I think there's things that make it even more powerful.
But you only can hex one creature per short rest,
Correct.
right? That's I hate that.
Yeah,
it's the one
limited.
thing.
Well, no, you can cast it twice, so twice per short rest.
Does he use a spell slot?
No.
No, it just...
So,
twice.
yeah, there's the Hexblade's Curse, which is limited to one, and then there's Hex, which also gives similar features, but isn't as powerful.
Right. You can't, like, teleport behind them and stuff.
I think you actually can.
What?
They did add, if you're hexed, you can do Hexblade Hex stuff. But there's the bonus Hex, which is even worse.
Gotcha.
But as, like, what I was saying with the War Priest, your Wisdom modifier gives you bonus attacks. So if you really want to nuke someone down, you can attack as much as you want.
What do you mean it gives you bonus attacks?
So
Wisdom?
when you use the attack action, you can make one weapon attack as a bonus action. That's your level 1 War Priest. That kind of sucks as a cleric because they don't really have any nuke damage, but as a Hexblade...
Oh, that gives you 3 weapon attacks.
If you're +3,
If you're Hexblade, right?
Yep.
Level 5, they get 2 attacks. Yeah, they do. That's an Eldritch Invocation. So they take that Eldritch Invocation, then they get War Priest. So that means 3 attacks.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And they're weapon attacks. It's not even like the monk that's limited to an unarmed strike. Whether or not that's limiting, get into that later. But that's pretty good. That's actually a pretty good combo. That makes the War Domain not crap.
Yeah, no, I looking at it now, that's a better combo than I thought it would be.
Equal to you can use this feature a number of times equal to your Wisdom modifier. So let's say 3 times per long rest. That's pretty frequent.
That scales like shit, but yeah, for boss battles, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
You're going to be the star of the show when you're just slashing that guy.
But honestly, I mean, again, if we're saying a +3 modifier, who has more than I mean, 6 encounters is like a high amount, and encounters doesn't even mean every single one of them is combats. That's like, encounters can be like a trap. A trap is considered an encounter. It doesn't have to just be a fight. So usually you're only going to be in 3, maybe 4 battles per long rest.
Yeah.
It depends.
It does. It obviously depends. But you're also...
if it's that low, though, they're usually longer battles where you have a lot of turns.
Right.
I'm actually still not sold on that War Priest thing. It's like, oh, 3 attacks, that's a lot. It's like, you're going to get 3 attacks 3 times. You're going to get 3 extra attacks, basically.
So you got...
Unless you bump it all the way up to 20, which when your multiclass is a little harder to do, you'll get 5 extra attacks.
With the Hexblade, you have to make your time with the cursed target as valuable as possible.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And for a level 1 just auto-on ability, that's what I think justifies it. If this was like level 5, it'd be like, you got to go pretty deep to get that. This is just right there.
You know what, though? I totally misread this. I thought it was like one of those, for a minute, you can do that.
No.
It's saying you literally get 1 additional bonus action attack, like key points almost.
Yeah, up to your wisdom modifier.
Right. So that's not nearly as good. But it's still good, as you were saying.
Yeah,
like,
to have in your back pocket, have the big fight, you hex them and curse them,
Yeah.
whatever, and then
Yeah, that's still good. I like it.
3 extra attacks.
Mm-hmm. 3 extra
whatever.
attacks is pretty good, especially if you're doing something with them. I guess it's a bonus action, so you're not doing anything else with them.
No.
Do the Hexblade Eldritch Invocations add anything fun, like on a hit, something cool happens? Or are they all just like, yeah, you can teleport to your hex target?
You can... I don't think anything on hit, to be honest.
Okay. I asked Will specifically because you played a Hexblade Warlock, so I just expect you to have all of their Eldritch Invocations memorized.
Did I play a real Hexblade Warlock?
It was the UA.
It was the UA.
It was before Xanathars
yeah.
came out.
Okay.
It was real similar.
It was, but they
didn't change
changed
it.
the Eldritch Invocations a good amount, and they
Yeah.
changed like the 9th level ability or whatever, high level ability.
Right.
But yeah, it just... The Hexblade's Curse, you do want as many attacks as possible. You get the extra crits. So I think it's good for a dip. If you're going full on cleric, there might be better options.
Level 1 dip. So what's your justification for a warlock taking a 1 level dip into cleric and never looking back?
It's mechanically all right, so fuck you.
Cleric's the one that's really hard to justify a quick dip in. Because the gods eventually just gonna say, fuck you. You're done. Go away.
I think with the war domain, you've got your war gods, so I think they're okay as long as you just devote your life to the slaughter.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, but you should probably take more than 1 dip into it. I mean, I don't think there's anything bad about their further things, especially if you have the Warlock Hexblade to fill in the blanks and pick up any of the slack. I mean, the War God's Blessing at 6th level, you can help a butt out and give them +10 to a roll for your Channel Divinity. That's cool. A lot of these features don't get extra Channel Divinity features. I guess that's
Well, they gave them 2 because both of them kind of suck.
Yeah.
+10. Bounded accuracy kind of makes anything like a +10 to hit.
+10's a lot.
What do you
mean? I mean, that can be... If
I know, but it just like too much.
Oh, okay. It's like...
Oh, +10. It does not... It's like, oh, I rolled an 18. It's like, well, I wasted my time.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was like after you see the roll, because that's always useful. You know, you roll a 5 and it's like, oh, it's only a 12. No, it's a 22. That's good.
Right.
Like if it was your reaction. Oh, wait. You can use your reaction. It's a reaction Channel Divinity. That's honestly what I think is so good about their Channel Divinities. Both of them are not an action, whereas I think most of them usually are. It's an action to use your Channel Divinity. But what I was really getting at was Divine Strike at 8th level. You're just adding a D8 to any weapon damage, which is, again, going Hexblade, great. You're getting an extra D8 to everything. Nothing wrong with that. It's just same type dealt by the weapon. Such a weird domain. Everything else is like, this is radiant. This one's lightning damage. This is just, you just hit them even harder. Good job, man. You're
Pretty
so
much,
good
yeah.
at this. No, you're not a fighter. You worship God. Any other combinations?
Combinations, no. not to shit on it even further, the other ability that I was talking about, where you could get the familiar and cast touch spells through it, and that's really great, and it is really great. You could accomplish that through a feat.
Which feat?
Magic initiate. Yeah, magic initiate. You pick you could pick a caster, and you could gain a couple cantrips and a first level spell of them and cast it. So you pick the wizard and gain Divine Familiar that way. That's much less of a commitment than what a 2-3 level dip into Warlock.
The familiar in the Warlock is it's better, but it really is overstated how much better. Find Familiar as a regular spell is, I don't know. Closets can be invisible and shit. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, they can be invisible. They're better scouters. That's the main thing.
But in terms of being able to deliver touch spells through your familiar, I'd rather just take the feat if that's all you're going into Warlock for.
Yeah. No, you're right on that.
Yep, totally agree. Okay, so it's not great. I mean, really.
I think you could have some fun role-playing.
Right.
Cool, interesting backstories and characters to play. Mechanically, I'm not in love with it.
No.
But that could be okay. It's,
yeah.
Just depends what you want to do.
I think mechanically it has potential, but I don't know if the potential's better than other options. I think each class can definitely get more out of multi-classing a different way than Warlock Cleric.
Yeah.
Yep.
Totally agree.
All right. Monster of the week time.
Yeah.
Monster of the week. This week's monster is the Elder Tempest. All that can be really said about this particular monster is, have you ever been such a dick DM? You're like, I think my players should fight a thunderstorm. Because now you can. If you have a troublesome city or, maybe some high-level PCs that you just want to wipe off the map, maybe it's time for a relatively large, let's say 1d6 plus how many miles of absolute hell, and at the center of it, a challenge rating 23 monster that's basically made of air. So let's go into it, guys. How would we approach doing the Elder Tempest?
From the DM or fighting it as a player?
Both.
Let's start from a DM's perspective.
So, so this is our second greater elder elemental. That's what they're called.
Correct.
We had Zaratan, previously the earth one. This is the air one. These are always summoned to this world, generally by an elemental evil cult of some kind. And they're not evil. They're actually all neutral, but their just existence is destruction, so they're causing problems anyways. And if anybody attacks them, they're going to attack back. So that actually makes it really easy for a DM to just stick it into a campaign.
Right.
You can make the entire campaign about trying to stop this cult, and if you fail, this is what you have to fight.
Right.
Or just, poof, here's the adventure of the day. This Elder Tempest.
Oh, that sounds so
Showed
hilarious as like a high-level party. Like you're all level 20 and it's like, oh man, we're out of things to do on just like a regular basis. And it's just like, you're basically like the Justice League where they just call you in every time there's like a huge earth-ending or world-ending event. And today's is the Elder Tempest. One really silly way I want to think of this one. So it has one really interesting ability. It's the air form. The Tempest can enter a hostile creature space and stop there. It can move through a space as narrow as 1 inch wide without squeezing. So even though it's a gargantuan size, that reads to me like it doesn't matter how big it is. It is a storm, as Will was saying. You're just fighting a thunderstorm.
Right.
It really just makes me think of finding a legendary Pokemon in like the Pokemon video games where you just go and like, oh, I'm in this cave and at the bottom of it here's Lugia, because that's the closest one for my Johto fans.
I'm a Gen 1 guy.
Yeah, I figured. So so I mean it could almost be like a really weird thing to find at the end of a dungeon where it's just an entire room, and it's going to be weird where hitting it is, it's got a low armor class because of its size. It's basically taking up the entire room. Wherever you're standing, you can hit it, but also wherever you're standing, you're going to be hit by it. I don't know how well that would play out, especially at the end of a dungeon. You might just kill your party outright.
Yes.
But I mean, if you're all level 20s, that's the only way you can challenge people, right?
I feel like this guy's probably not going to be inside.
Unless he was summoned inside. In which case, you're
I
coming
think
to
he
this.
would leave.
Yeah, he's made out of air. He's like, I'm not going to sit in a cave waiting for a bunch of jabronis who are overpowered to walk into my cave.
Well,
And I think the fun thing about this is essentially the map is now the enemy.
Yeah.
He's big enough where you're like, all right, where is he? The party is now surrounded by these swirling snakes of lightning and air, and it doesn't matter where he goes.
Right.
He's immune to opportunity attacks. He can move and stay in anybody's space. You can just draw a big circle and say he's there.
yeah.
And he's not going to run away from you either.
No.
No.
So the party is essentially just put him in a circle and tell me what you do.
right.
Yeah. I do like the idea of like accidentally releasing this thing at the bottom of a dungeon.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, go through the big dungeon. There's the big treasure, and like, oh, there's this interesting crystal, and you touch it and it shatters, and the elder elemental just bursts out of it and just dissipates through cracks in the ceiling. Like, well, that was weird.
Yeah.
Then you leave the dungeon.
I don't remember it raining today. Quick,
I don't remember there being apocalyptic storms forecasted for the day. Why am I being struck by lightning repeatedly? That's not how it works.
Though it doesn't, the living storm that you were saying, it's 1d6 plus 4 miles in diameter. It doesn't do any damage.
No.
It just gives you the disadvantage on perception checks that
Lightly
rely on
obscured,
hearing,
yeah.
which is weird because I feel like sight could also work there as well, but they just decided to limit
Lightly
it to hearing.
obscured does it. And so the entire area is lightly obscured, which gives you
Oh.
disadvantage
Okay.
on
okay.
sight based, and then they added the hearing one.
Right. So, I mean, this would be like a really fun thing to have to walk to because you could have just like, you get through this storm and there's things in the storm. I'm sure there are other lightning or air elementals. There's literally an air elemental that you can throw in as like your journey to get to the center of the storm. And once you get there, it's like, oh, okay,
Right.
we're effed.
Yeah.
Ability wise, what are you guys thinking? What's the main things popping out at you?
So
all of
your
I know.
basic actions
Talk about
are fairly mundane. Thunderous slam, they just blast one of your characters.
It's plus 16 to hit,
It's
20
gonna
foot
hit.
range,
Yep.
and 46 plus 9 thunder damage. and
Even
you can do it
the
twice.
reach doesn't even matter though, because
Yeah.
as we talked about, this character.
Yeah,
does
that
not
is a little
care.
weird because so gargantuan is the catch-all size category.
Right.
Huge takes up this many squares and large this many squares. Gargantuan doesn't have that. It's just
Right.
anything bigger than a colossal or something. I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you play that? Are they literally that entire storm? If you're in the storm, you could swing and hit it, or would you have it? It's the core of it, and you do have to get to that.
I would definitely side with the core of it, but I think the best call here is to tell your players that the map is now the enemy.
Yeah.
Right.
I think trying to play this as it is a creature is not really jiving with the flavor of it.
No,
Yeah.
I agree. I would probably just, like we've got a battle mat right in front of us, but just draw it from like a whole circle as big as I can get and just say like, here you go. This is the center of the storm.
Right. And if you're within 20 feet of the center, you're within of like the outer edges of it, you're within range of this lightning slam. And,
Right. So you can't hide. That's
Right.
that's the main thing. Or you can just do a dot in the middle, just be like, it's everywhere. Get over it.
Yeah.
And then, it's just the fight itself is so cool flavor wise from like a description standpoint. 'Cause it's like it doesn't matter where you're standing, a giant snake head pops out and just slams against you, throwing you to the wherever. And then you get the lightning storm, which is also terrifying. That's a recharge 6 ability. So all other creatures within 120 feet of the Tempest must each make a DC 20 dex save or take 68 lightning damage on a fail or half as much on a success. If it fails by 5 or more, the creature is also stunned until the end of its next turn. I mean, that's just rough.
Yeah.
At least it can't do that and a slam,
Right.
but it gets legendary actions.
Oh, which are terrible.
Yep, one of them is that lightning strike. I think close to it. It's not the exact
It's
same.
a single target.
Right. And only 3d10.
Well, no, it's within 5 feet of the point. So keep your party away.
Yeah.
But I will say one of the things that I've noticed about this is, despite being very high challenge rating, the damage is pretty low.
Yeah, it's just frequent.
Right.
It's frequent, and there's no avoiding it. I think that's the key to it.
Yeah,
Right.
DC 20 dex save is hard to...
It can literally move as a legendary action, and it doesn't cost a legendary action.
I think it
Oh,
casts
geez.
one.
No, it'll say cost 1 action. It's,
Yeah.
it's just
Does it
free.
actually?
You can just move.
Well, no, the Tempest can take 3 legendary actions, choosing from the options below. The other ones cost 2 and then 3 respectively.
Right.
Move
Cost
just
1,
quite,
dude.
yeah. The one that takes 3 is awesome though. Screaming Gale. Release a blast of thunder and wind in a line that is a mile long and 20 feet wide.
The specificity of
insane.
20 feet wide, though, is so great to me because
Yeah.
that's just like, to me, I'm imagining this thing's almost just rising up in the air and dropping onto the ground because it's so huge. I mean, I know it's more than that, but like that's
It's a blast of thunder
one way
and
to play
wind,
it.
dude.
Yeah, it's a blast. It is. Look at this thing.
Yeah.
Elder Tempest is a blast of lightning and wind. I don't know what you're talking about.
So
But anything within the Screaming Gale in that line that's a mile long. Objects in there take 40-10 thunder damage. Each creature is a DC 21 dex save where you take 40-10 thunder damage and flung 60 feet in a direction away from the line. And then you take 1d6 for every 10 feet flung. So if you go the full 60 feet, so basically you go 60 feet or you hit something. So if you go the full 60 feet, it's going to be 40-10 damage plus 66 bludgeoning damage.
Yep. And you're prone.
that wouldn't be 66 if you're not falling though.
No, it doesn't. It's the target takes 1d6 bludgeoning damage for every 10 feet it was thrown before impact.
Yep. And again, then you're prone.
Yeah.
And after that,
And 60 feet away.
yep. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's a separate thing. If the target would collide with another creature instead, that other creature must succeed on a DC 19 Dexterity saving throw or take the same damage and be knocked prone.
Yeah.
So
I would still consider, even if you don't hit somebody, you'd still be prone. That's in line with taking falling damage.
Yes,
If
I
you
would
take
agree.
falling damage, you're prone.
yep, I would agree.
Yeah.
And that's that's a legendary action. So that's just
Yeah.
once per turn if it wants to,
Well,
or per round.
Yeah,
Per
once
round.
per round. Because it takes all 3 actions.
In practicality, I think that's a that would be semi-useful in combat, but I think it'd be a better starter.
Especially when they're grouped up.
Your character's like they're marching towards the center of the
Right.
storm. It's like, oh, what's that? What's that horrible screeching noise? And then you just see a fucking whirlwind of blasting air.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, everyone's getting all epic, like tensed up. Is all right, we're going to do this. And the music goes up. It's like, "Ah!" And they just fling 60 feet in all direction.
We're not even
Nope.
halfway there. No, I wouldn't necessarily say they'd be able to hit that, but it'd be a good way to add tension while they're getting there.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like this needs to be an entire. I mean, it could be an entire session just getting to the center of this thing,
Yeah.
and it's a mile long. So we're saying they're walking there, they're fighting
1d6
air
plus
elementals.
4 miles.
Well, the
Right.
storm.
Oh, the
The gale
Gale,
is a
yeah,
mile. So
right.
once they're within a mile,
Then every single time they're just that's
how many
they've already-
actions can you make in 8 minutes?
It doesn't need to be in combat. That'd be silly.
Exactly.
But just have it where that's another encounter. Everyone make a deck save. If you fail, whoosh, know,
Yeah.
and that's more damage that you're taking. Basically, an encounter is worth of damage if you're hitting objects. Which I don't know how you'd really play that. Just throw some trees around.
Well, you
I
can
mean,
hit the
they
floor
just get
too.
destroyed.
Honestly,
And it's a siege monster, so it's double damage to objects and buildings.
So those are just exploding.
Pretty much. Yeah, just like the Zaratan, and I'm assuming all the other
All the
Elder
other,
elements.
this is all these elementals are a great way to destroy any permanent structure that you as a DM might not like. My characters build a castle, and it's really annoying me. I got some news for you, buddy. We can take it down in an instant.
Yeah. And then let's talk about some of its saves and stuff. Plus 12 wisdom saving throw and plus 11 charisma saving throw. And just completely immune to exhaustion, grappled, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, prone, restrained, or stunned. Immune to lightning, poison, and thunder damage, resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. So I guess at the time you're fighting this, that wouldn't come up too much, but 23 strength, 28 dexterity, 23 con, only 2 int.
Yeah, all these storms are really
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah. 21 wisdom, 18 charisma. The 18 charisma is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get where that's really coming from.
I mean, I get if you look at charisma in the sense of its force of personality, like this, its presence in a room.
I think I'd notice it, but then it should be a lot higher than 18.
Yes.
You're telling me that a fully fleshed out paladin, you're going to see both of them and immediately turn to the paladin and be like, "Hey, what's up?" Not the Elder Tempest.
Yeah.
It's just,
I don't think it makes that noise.
what noise does it make? You make it.
The sound of a storm. Yeah.
Like a storm, man. Like a hurricane.
You ever
know what
heard a
hurricane-
tornado? It sounds like a train.
I've never heard a
blowing.
tornado. I live in Northeast Ohio. We
Okay.
don't get those.
Well, occasionally there's tornado warnings
why?
because occasionally there's tornadoes. It's just very infrequent.
I don't believe him.
Okay, I feel like we're off track here.
So it's a tough creature. 19 AC, 264 hit points. You can burn it down, though, if you've got the action economy in your favor.
Yeah. Actually, if you are level 20, I think it might be, and there's literally nothing else, somewhat of an easier fight.
Which is why I'm saying...
The 290 is not crazy, 19 AC is not crazy.
It needs to be an adventure just getting to the center of the storm. This should be like the last fight of the day. And if you really want, you can throw some extra air elementals in at the end.
Oh, tons of stuff.
Yeah,
There's tons and tons and tons of things that would make sense to be a part of this.
Heck, I just have
the
those,
cultists that summoned it.
No, they'd die very quickly.
You think?
I honestly think so.
Yeah, I hate that trope, but it always happens. Like, oh, we summoned the big bad evil thing.
Well, if we're saying they're hanging out in the center of the storm, you think this thing's just going to swirl around and be like, no, they're cool. They summoned me here. It doesn't even want to be there.
Yeah, I don't even think it has the option to not kill them. It's got 2 int.
Yeah. Exactly.
Dude, you only have 2 int.
Which, I mean, this is almost a bit more random as a DM. Once you get to such low intelligences, this is something that you always bring up. You'll be like, does this thing want to attack the person who just went down? It's got such a low intelligence. I don't know if it should. I would just roll every time. You've got 4 players, roll 1d4. That's who it's attacking this turn.
You don't need to with Lightning Storm, though. It's like you don't have to make that call.
With Lightning Storm, correct, but with Thunderslam,
Thunderslam, I would never say they just attack the most threatening thing, and they know they'll blow everything up.
I don't think they even know what's the most threatening thing. That's what I'm saying. At 2 intelligence, they're just like, I'm just attacking.
Oh, you hit me with a magical sword. That's within spitting distance. 2 int.
I guess
it's not a giant purple worm with 1 int.
But it's differing between what hurt more, the giant sword or the wizard who is casting spells. You don't know. You're just attacking. You're just lashing out in a elemental rage.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I would just be completely random with it. Which, I mean, that's just a way to play it as a DM. Just roll a d4. That's who I'm attacking this round.
This character makes it very easy to do that because it does have everybody's going to take damage. Roll your saves.
Yep. Definitely. Be fun. I can't wait. We need to do a high level campaign.
We always say that. And we're like, this takes so much time.
Yeah, we did, level 17 last time. Got up to there, and then we were so excited to go back to level 2.
Yeah.
And then within like a session and a half, it's like, damn it, I want to be level 6.
Yep.
Now I'm bored with level 6. Kevin,
you're 7.
We're 7.
You're level 7.
But I didn't get anything at level 7. Nobody did.
I did. No, I didn't.
No, nobody does.
Never mind.
No character gets anything at level 7. Level 8 now, Kevin.
That's how it works.
Yeah, you just yell at the DM enough and they'll level you up. It's the number one reasoning for XP is you can just tell your players, like, you didn't earn it yet. Compared to every single time that it's milestone leveling and they're like, I want to level up now. You just tell us when to level up, so let us level up. Just, balance all the No, shut up. Shut up. You wait. You wait until I tell you to level up.
Have you ever actually had players try and do that?
Yes.
Us.
Really?
Yeah.
Like us?
No,
I don't think we've
No,
done
not you guys. You guys are...
we go with it. It's fine.
But I have had players who are like, I just want to level up. Like, can't you just do that? Like, this is such a boring level. Just shut up.
It's not the point.
No, yeah. Like, you got to earn it, man. I'm sorry.
What do you know? Boring level.
Yeah.
If this level is boring, all previous levels are boring because you had everything from the previous levels.
Yeah. Go find me a rare candy.
Good item. One player shuts up and levels up.
And then can never level up again. That's the punishment. Because you got to curse all these items. Oh, yeah, you instantly level up. Well, that's like, I gave a party a deck of many things, and that was like
Never do this.
It was a mess around campaign. I wasn't really too worried about it, and it honestly was great at creating plot hooks. But they kept on polling in hopes that they'd get 10,000 experience, instantly level up. But it's only one of them would get it, so they'd be over-leveled compared to everyone else. And luckily, they never got it, but I didn't know what I was going to do if they did. Like, it's basically a campaign ruiner, because they wouldn't stop
So many
there.
things are, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the point, I guess. But they kept pulling until recently when they just gave up. They're like, yeah, you know what? I think we're actually in a good spot. We've got 2 castles that we only need 1 of.
Don't you have to state what you pull from the start, and then that's that?
You say how many cards you want to pull.
Yeah.
That's it. And then some of them disappear after the first use. Some of them go back into the deck.
No, how could they keep pulling?
What do you mean?
You can pull again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can say, I'm pulling 4 cards. Pull 4.
Pull 4 cards. All
I'm
4
going to
things
pull
happen.
4 more cards.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought it was like a one-time use per person thing.
But what's hilarious is they get into these cycles where one person will do it and they get a wish. And they're like, oh, awesome, I get a wish spell. I can't wait to use this. And then the next person pulls a card and they disappear into a dimension and they have absolutely no way of getting back except for a wish spell.
Right.
So then that person instantly uses their wish and they're like, yay, we're at 0.
I was actually there for that particular incident. That was hilarious. That was a great way to like, hey, you just lost that game breaker I gave you.
Yep. So it's good. I'm actually going to be playing that campaign again pretty soon here.
Well, speaking of castles that you may think your characters don't deserve, if you ever want to get rid of them,
Yep, Elder Tempest.
you got an Elder Tempest.
Blow it up. I might just bring that in just to mess with them.
It just passes through. Everyone takes catastrophic damage. Castles are destroyed, but it's a storm. It doesn't really have any personal grudges. It just moves on.
They're not high enough level to deal with it.
Or it's like it's looking for a high level party that's like a mile away from your people.
Yeah.
It misses with its blast of air and it's like blows up their castles.
Oh no, what do we do? You guys can't do anything. There's a high level adventuring party. They're called in. The Justice League's are here. They're going to
They'll
take care of it.
Your castle blew away, though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's just
Did you guys get insurance? Did you think about insurance? They didn't think about insurance.
I can see any rational party was like, oh, we gotta go stop whatever came from that wind, and they're like marching off, and you're like, idiots.
Yep.
And they get there, and there's just like the most over leveled sons of bitches ever. Like, who are you nerds?
That's good. All right. Well, that's all I got about the Elder Tempest. We talked about like, how does a player play against this thing? They don't. I mean, there's no like specific way. You're in a storm. You just keep slashing. You keep doing damage. There's nothing that you can exploit. I mean, it's intelligence. Sure, you cast Feeble Mind, let's say. It doesn't cast spells.
No.
It doesn't care what its intelligence
This is a
Well,
meat
it doesn't
grinder.
matter.
It really is.
It's what?
A meat grinder.
Yeah, through and through.
Yeah, it's immune to a lot of debilitating effects.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you could, depending on the party composition, get creative. Or that 20-foot range, I mean, you can... No, I was going to say, like, at 20 feet with its attack, you could very easily kind of get out of that range and run back and forth. But it has 120-foot fly speed, and it doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. So it's just going to move around and strike who it wants to strike.
Yeah.
If you're trying to kite this thing, also remember the storm imposes disadvantage on all ranged attacks.
Right.
Oh.
So you're not going to kite it. You got to get in there. If you've got, a party of barbarians, that'd probably be the best way to go about it.
That is actually interesting, though. If we're saying that the entire map is the creature, so do you get disadvantage on ranged attacks?
Yeah. No, it automatically, everything's within 6 miles of this thing.
Okay.
Disadvantage.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can just say, everybody's going to
It's just a good old-fashioned tank and spank.
One. Whoa.
Have you not heard that term?
No, I haven't.
That's a great term.
That's good though. One banishment though, and this thing's gone. And by that I mean 4 banishments because it has 3 legendary resistances and then has to fail.
You're right. Yeah, it's not immune to
banishment. That'd be really specific.
That's not a status effect.
Yeah.
That'd be such a call it in kind of way to make it fight hard. Immune to banishment. Stop doing that. This book was written by an upset DM who got his big bad evil guy ruined in 2.5 turns.
What's the save on banishment?
It's your right.
Wisdom, charisma.
I think
It's
it's
wisdom, I think.
Wisdom.
Okay,
I know
so-
it's not intelligence.
It's either wisdom or charisma, and both that
Plus
is
12 to
oof.
wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then 3 resistances.
It's not. It's going to take
Yeah.
a while, and I don't think upcasting it just lets you banish 2 things. Which
I'm not sure. It may not even have an
I
upcast.
think it doesn't have an upcast
Okay.
because it's good enough. But
not worth
at
it.
level 20, you do have a pool of banishments that
Right.
could make that a little annoying.
yeah, you just might get lucky with it getting one.
Not to,
And
and
then-
then you're being a DM who kind of breaks the rules. Like, oh yeah, he's only got 2 int, but that banishment guy needs to stop.
That's basically it. Yeah. So yeah, if you're a PC, bring your banish spells. Anything else?
Don't send a storm wizard or a sorcerer.
Sorcerer, yeah.
It's immune to all lightning
This is
damage.
my perfect Actually, it's not. You might think that it is, but you would be wrong.
Very, very wrong.
Yeah. I say a team of barbarians would probably be great at this.
I think a team of barbarians is like
Solution to any
solution
problem,
to any high level encounter,
except for mind flayers.
except for mind
Yeah.
players.
Or liches and spellcasters.
Really, any
yeah.
spellcaster. Yeah. Okay.
Unless they can get they eventually get like crazy speed and like fly and stuff like that. It's like,
Barbarians?
oh, you entered my lair, and then they
Like
all
the
just
totem.
bullet towards the thing and get one attack, and it's like, oh, well, that's over. That's over.
Yeah, they don't get fly, but one of the totem things is like they could leap like they're flying and
Right. You get a fly speed for like 10 seconds, I guess.
something like that.
No, I don't think it's that. But regardless, barbarians fighting a storm.
That's cool.
It's cool, but also hilarious scaled down. Where you're just imagining a bunch of buff dudes swinging at clouds.
This is a great extension of that manliness campaign I came up with.
The Swole Coast.
The Swole Coast. The lich that's stealing everyone's gains. The gain stealer. Everyone has to be a buff dude to try and stop this.
Yep, the only ones, the few chosen ones who are strong enough. And
The only acceptable classes are going to be fighter, monk, and barbarian, and fighters are going to be the casters. It's like, oh, nerd, you're just a fighter. I'm a barbarian. We got our karate master. Oh, it's going to be great.
Yep,
The Swole Coast.
I can't wait. That's definitely my next silly campaign. I gotta bring it up to 3 a week.
All right.
Let's wrap this up.
This went late. I think that's an episode.
Yep.
Follow us on Twitter. We're on Twitter now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Follow us on
that's-
Twitter.
we do.
There's our plug.
Interesting things on there.
At monsters
Discussions.
_ malt.
Feel free to tweet us and ask us questions or tell us how wrong we are. Give us ideas.
That's actually my main one. I really want
Yeah.
people to start telling us we're wrong. No, like honestly, if
Or
you
just their opinion.
well, I'm more
We're
just gonna
kind of.
be,
I know
"You're
we have
wrong."
listeners and stuff, but in a sense, it almost feels like we're just kind of operating in a bubble because like we just don't get feedback.
right. But I also like confrontation. So if you want to say that we're wrong, we can talk about it. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
And also suggestions. Suggestions are
Yeah.
nice for monsters. Yep.
Yeah. Or review us. Apparently, that's a big deal. Like iTunes reviews, we learned this recently. I guess it's really big on how it shows up. We didn't know that, and they're not easy to get. So if you like us, review us. If you don't like us, just yell at us on Twitter.
Well, if you don't like us, review us too on iTunes. Give us bad reviews, and then we'll just stop.
No, I think that's bad.
We'll just stop. I don't know. I'm not here to.
Yeah, we're easily stopped. You can break our spirit within one review.
1 star. Missed the Warlock Cleric combination that changed my entire life. And then we're just done. That's it. Good job, guys. We tried.
After the Twitter fight, though.
After the Twitter fight. All right, let's end it.
All right.
It's long
Thanks
enough.
for listening, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Next week on Monsters and Multiclass.
Next week, we're going to be talking about the Monk Fighter multiclass, and our monster of the week will be the Red Cap from Volo's Guide to Monsters.